It is time now for our Friday segment, Movie Spotlight, where we discuss box office hits and the must-watch indie picks worth your time this weekend. Joining us in the studio again are our movie critics, Darcy, Paquet. Hello, Darcy.
Hi, Andrew.
And Jason Bechervaise. Jason.
Hello, Andrew.
Today we're going to be doing a little bit different approach to our segment today. We're going to be reviewing one movie the way we usually do, and then we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be talking about a film festival instead of a specific movie. But without further ado, let's begin. Darcy, this week you're recommending a Korean independent film that premiered at last year's Busan International Film Festival, which opened in theaters on Wednesday. This film is The Second Child, or in Korean, 그림자 아이. It's a mystery fantasy thriller and focuses on two sisters whose fates seem tied up in a dark fairy tale. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so this is the second film by a director named Yoo Eun-jung, and she made her debut back in 2019 with an independent film called Ghost Walk, or 밤의 문이 열린다. And that film too, it was kind of hard to pin down in terms of genre. It's a ghost story, but not a horror film. It's kind of more a sad drama. And, this new film is somewhat similar. So at first glance, you might think it's a horror film, from the poster and the imagery. And, a lot about the film kind of strongly evokes the real classic 2003 film, A Tale of Two Sisters by Kim Ji-yoon. Not the least the actress, Im Soo-jung, who, kind of launched her career back in 2003 with that film. And she appears as the mother in this film. And she also serves as producer in the film. But yeah, when you actually sit down to watch this new film, the mood is not at all like a horror film. It's kind of more reflective. It's about grief in some ways. The film's Korean title, when it first screened in Busan, was 두 번째 아이, or The Second Child, but they since changed it in Korean to 그림자 아이, which means shadow child. And yeah, so they wanted to kind of emphasize a bit the shadow, kind of the fairy tale aspects of the story.
So that was why they changed the name.
It seems that way. I think that in most cases you're kind of rushing to, release a film at a festival and then you get some response from the audience. The Second Child is maybe, I don't know, I'm just kind of putting words in their mouths here, but I think maybe they thought that, Shadow Child kind of was more evocative of, represented the story a bit better.
I did see the trailer. I didn't see the movie itself, but it did seem a lot, scary and all that stuff. But
it's not scary.
It's not scary. Tell us a bit more about the story itself and what role the fairy tale plays in the plot.
Yeah, so the film opens with the older sister reading from this picture book to her younger sister, Suan. And it tells of the shadow that's living in the darkness deep underground. It kind of envies humans, and so it approaches these two sisters and demands that one of them switch places with him so that he can live above ground. And the girls don't want to do it, and he threatens the girls and eventually convinces one of them to give herself up. And this idea of two young girls who cannot continue living unless, one of the two ends up sacrificing herself. That's kind of the idea at the center of the story, both in a symbolic way, but also in, the family seems to be living under some kind of curse. And, the fantasy and realistic elements of the film, blend together. When the film kind of properly opens up, the second scene of the film, Suan wakes up from a 3-year coma, and she learns that her sister has thrown herself off the roof and died. She and her mother, who's a therapist, they struggle to adjust to their new life with just the two of them. But then one day, Suan sees a girl in the street who looks completely identical to her older sister.
So again, this is not supposed to be scary. But tell us a bit more about Im Soo-jung's role in the film, as well as the younger actors.
I think the acting is the strong point of the film. Im Soo-jung, as the mother, she's been working in the industry for 2.5 decades, and I think, she's always been kind of a natural for acting, but here I think we feel her experience in the performance as well. She knows just the right amount of emotion to put into it. She doesn't overdo it for dramatic effect. And I'm really happy that she took part in this film as a producer as well, because the director said that probably they couldn't have made the film without her help. But yeah, she's a really important character as the mother, and even if she's not kind of the main eyes through which we see the story. I was really impressed by the young actress Park Soo-hee as well. I mean, she's been in a lot of films and TV dramas. She has close to 10 years of experience herself, but she's so good, and I think her performance is what carries the film.
And should we go watch this movie?
Well, let's see. I mean, I liked parts of the film. One thing, I don't think it really holds together kind of logically. There's the fairy tale and how it kind of fits in with the history of this family and everything else. It ends up becoming quite complicated, and both kind of in a logical sense, but also in an emotional sense. Like, the pieces don't fit together really smoothly. You have to kind of try to puzzle it out, and that I think takes a little bit away from the impact of the story. And so I have mixed feelings. I found it interesting, but I think it didn't have quite the impact it could have.
Jason, you saw this as well, right?
I did, yeah. I went to the premiere last week here in Seoul, and I agree with Darcy. I think, in terms of the writing, it's not quite there. It's you kind of come up feeling a bit kind of like, well, it's like scratching my head. But it was made on a budget of like Shipok, which
it's like 100 million. No, that's 1 billion. Is it?
Yeah, 1 billion
Korean
won.
won, right.
So for that low budget, and given the production values of the film, actually I think it's quite a well-made production. Maybe because of Im Soo-jung being attached, they were able to get things done cheaper. But I do think it's, in terms of the production values, it's well crafted. Darcy mentioned the performances, and Im Soo-jung, she's terrific, and as is Park Soo-hee as well. There's something so alluring about her eyes, just her acting. There is an intensity surrounding her with regards to her performance. And of course, the Tale of Two Sisters vibes, for sure. Im Soo-jung, and just, the house being a central location in the movie, it's just, and also just, it does start off like a horror film, although it does veer off somewhat differently. But it's definitely not a Tale of Two Sisters, but I found it quite intriguing, if not, yes, it's flawed, but, you can forgive some of some of the writing issues.
Okay. Lastly, this is a low-budget film, as Jason nicely outlined there. It's an independent feature, but it makes strong use of genre elements in telling its story, even if it's not a full-on fantasy or horror film. Is that a trend in Korean independent cinema today, Darcy?
I do think that we're seeing more of it. Traditionally you have, low-budget films, which most of them are kind of very realistic, and they're we'd kind of classify them as dramas. And then Korea doesn't have quite the same tradition of low budget genre films as some other countries do. But I think what we're seeing a bit more of today are films that kind of blend those two together. And, a movie like this, I think that, the effects were necessary to telling this particular kind of story, and the CGI. And maybe 10 years ago, it wouldn't have been possible for a film at this budget to create effects that looked good enough to make the film work. And the effects, they're not the level of a really big expensive film, but I think that opens up storytelling possibilities that perhaps may not have existed in the past.
We're going to move on to Jason's introduction of a film festival instead of a film. You're going to be talking about the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival, which kicked off yesterday, and which we also talked about during this show's Korea Trending segment yesterday as well. This festival has been around for 3 decades. And this is one of the 3 major film festivals in Korea. Jason, tell us more.
Yeah, so Korea doesn't have a shortage of festivals. The Misan-sen festival recently wrapped up in Seoul, and actually you can catch some of those short films on Netflix, because Netflix sponsored the festival. But, there are three central or three major festivals in Korea that actually they all emerged between 96 and 2000, like many of Korea's kind of most famous directors. So there's Busan, which emerged in 96, Bucheon in 97, and Jeonju in 2000. And sure, they share many similarities. They all screen independent films and some commercial titles as well. But they all stand out for different reasons too. And I think, clearly, we talked a little bit about genre films today. And one of the reasons why BIFAN, or the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival, does stand out is because it is a genre festival. And not only that, it's one of the, what is regarded as, or recognized as one of the leading genre festivals in Asia.
We did talk about this a little bit as well yesterday, but tell us about the film that opened the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival.
Well, sadly, I'm not in Bucheon right now, so I'll get there tomorrow. So I didn't see the film, but it opened with the Korean premiere of the Chinese action adventure Blades of the Guardian. So not a Korean film, but there are a number of films screening at the festival. There's 321 films that are screening from 50 countries. So that consists of 170 features, 85 shorts, 38 AI films, and others too. And there's dozens of world premieres, and the festival takes place. It began yesterday, the 2nd of July, and continues until the 12th.
And this year is special because it's celebrating the 30th edition.
Yeah.
And what is it doing to mark the occasion?
Well, it's inviting me and Darcy. Only joking. But it's launched a 3-year project, Asian Genre Films 99, that was jointly organised by the Korean Film Archive here in Seoul. And the first chapter of this project is called Korean Genre Films 33, and it focuses on genre cinema over the past 3 decades. So there was a committee that decided on these films, 33 titles, and 10 are screening at this year's festival. And these titles are as follows. Some great Korean films here, so you can see them on the big screen in Bucheon. Christmas in August, Nowhere to Hide, Save the Green Planet, The King and the Clown, Tatsa, The High Rollers, The Good, Bad, The Weird, The Unjust, The Shameless, Train to Busan, and Extreme Job. And there's also 11 films by female directors, and 5 of those are screening this year. So The Uninvited, Princess Aurora, Shadows in the Palace, Very Ordinary Couple, and Missing. Many directors will be in town. Many of these filmmakers will be in Bucheon. So it promises to be an event where there's going to be lots of talent, both from in front and behind the camera.
I think I've seen maybe 2/3 of those films that you
There
mentioned.
you go,
Right.
Andrew. I've seen like all of them. but I definitely want to get back and see them on the big screen if I possibly can.
Okay. You mentioned AI.
Oh, yeah.
So it's at the forefront of the festival, as it is everywhere these days. But how is the industry embracing it?
Well, there are those who are kind of like all in on AI. There are those who are very skeptical, like myself. But, Bucheon is one of the early festivals to kind of really champion it in Korea. They've really gone all in big time. There's an AI competition called Bucheon Choice AI Films. So it's 2 features, 13 shorts. There's also an AI Frontier section, so another feature and more than 20 shorts. There's an AI Content Summit that includes an international conference, business meeting, exhibitions. And there's an AI Film Institute that was co-founded by Bucheon City, SPSANT, and BIFAN in 2025. And so, but I personally am quite skeptical. I see it as more of a tool. But I don't know if Darcy agrees with me on this. I do sense that some filmmakers, certainly in Hollywood, are now kind of getting behind it. Like Martin Scorsese generated headlines in June for partnering up with an AI film. So there's some big directors out there that are, not necessarily championing AI, but at least they're not like, they admit to using it, and they do see it as a tool going forward. So I'll have to wait and see what happens.
You mentioned Blades of the Guardian, Christmas in August.
Yeah.
All the other films are, of course, very famous here. But what other films will you be looking out for at the festival?
Well, I like to see Curry Barker's Smash It Obsession, that's it's generated millions of dollars in America, and that's screening in the Bucheon Choice Features section. I always I like to dive in and explore the discoveries. So the Korean features in the Bucheon Choice section there. So titles include Jang Jun-hyup's Killing Time and Song Hyun-bum's The Robber. There's also a genre file section where audiences can see the latest commercial genre films from the past few months, year. So Son Jae-gun's Wild Sing, which I raved about. I had a really good time watching that movie, and you can watch that at the festival with English subtitles, I'm assuming. And there's also Samok-ji, Colony, Want to Be With Us. So all films we talked about on the show, and there's actually a lot to explore at the festival this year. There is a lot of Korean titles, but also a lot of non-Korean films too.
And the industry component?
Okay, so yeah, this is NAF, otherwise known as Network of Asian Fantastic Films. It's a project market launched in 2008. So this year they're showcasing 32 projects from 29 countries. And there's also going to be a France focus, which is supported by France's kind of CNC, which is the equivalent of the Korean Film Council in France. And that's been supported by the France CNC, Unifrance, and the French Embassy. Basically, France and Korea are celebrating 140 years of ties. So, there's lots going on there. Actually, I remember the head of the French CNC coming last year, and he made some really interesting comments about how the French industry had recovered. And he argued that it was down to holdbacks that are kind of mandatory in France. Basically, a film the time between a film's release in theatres and online is like several months in France. It's not really happening here. There are no laws, and so he was making the argument that this has helped France kind of with its recovery in the film industry.
Darcy, you're going to be there because it's the 30th anniversary. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I think that, as always, there are a lot of new Korean films from directors that I haven't heard of yet. I was speaking to a programmer who said that this year they had a particularly large number of films that they invited. And so I'm kind of going in blind. Like I'm not...
It's the best way.
Yeah, I'll try to see, new movies. And, at the same time, another good thing about the festival is that people come from all over the world to attend the festival. So people who I know who work at other film festivals will be in Bucheon, and there'll be time to kind of catch up with them as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
We're out of time, so that's it for today's movie Spotlight. We had in the studio with us, as usual, Darcy Paquet. Thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
And Jason Bechervaise. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Andrew.